Hey, and welcome back to this video. In this one, we're going to talk about how I use the information from providing a disc profile of everybody within our team, all management owners, as well as the as everyone in the team, and how we use that within our community pharmacy business, and how that really worked well for us, and what did we see from the results of that. Now, if you don't know what a personality profile is, I've got another video that talks about that, so you can see that. If you don't know what DISC personality profile is, which is one of the types of personality profiles, I've also got another video on that. So if you haven't checked those out, make sure you do go and check them out as well. Otherwise, what we're going to do is just hop into how we made the information that we got from DISC profiles for our team, and how we made it work in our community pharmacy business. So what was really interesting was when we were looking for two things, really. Once we got all the results of people from the DISC profiles, the first thing that we were looking for were who are all the people who were quite task-oriented and the people who were people-oriented. Like, just really just making sure that we were understanding the different sides of it. And the second thing that we were looking for were just to make sure that there wasn't a huge gap between the adaptive and natural states. So ideally what we wanted was people to be in their natural, be their natural selves, be their natural best, or be in a really comfortable and safe environment where they felt they could be themselves and not be judged as a result of that. And then they would bring that level of natural enthusiasm, talent, and energy to work. So if there was somebody that we saw had a big gap, we would probably just understand what was going on behind that. Like, did they have a particular expectation that they put on themselves, or was there an expectation that they felt that we were placing on them, for them to feel that they needed to be somebody else? Because really, at the end of the day, we wanted people to manage their energy. So a lot of I guess teams leaders look at efficiencies, and everyone wants to drive efficiency and utility and make sure that we're getting the most out of our people, like we've got to wring a towel. Whereas really, you know, and it comes down to kind of time management in that regard. Whereas we kind of take a different approach where we want to manage energy. And the two things that we look into when it comes to trying to manage people's energy is, number one, are you the same person naturally as you are at work? So are you going to be your natural personal self? How can we create an environment for you to feel safe to be yourself and not feel judged as a result, and essentially be vulnerable enough to go, yeah, look, this is me, this is who I am, and you know, I'm proud of that, and I'm comfortable with that, and I'm confident with that. So being the same person that you normally are, I think that's going to help manage your energy. And then the second thing is ensuring that you play a role that suits your natural best and your natural talent. So it's not to say that you can't do things that are outside of your natural bounds. We want to kind of take on an approach where if you have weaknesses, then you know a lot of managers tend to focus a whole stack of energy trying to improve this weakness, just this little bit. Whereas we tend to take the approach that if you have a particular strength or a natural talent, then we want to roll with that, and we want to double down, triple down on that, because that's going to help energize and motivate that person to really come up and be creative and really try new and cool things. So that's one of the real big drivers when it comes to energy management. And people who have more energy tend to be more engaged. People who are more engaged tend to work better as a team. People who work better as a team tend to be to create this better kind of like family bonded culture, and ultimately from that the customer benefits. And if the customer benefits from that, then they're going to give us their custom, and that custom comes in the form of improved business. So even though that's not our goal to go and improve business and sales, really the whole aim of this exercise is managing our people, and more specifically, how do we manage the energy of the people? And we believe that DISC helps us massively in giving us the information to help with that. So what we ended up doing was this actually happened while it was me and my business partner, and we were in a restaurant, and we kind of noticed that in a restaurant, when you walk in the door, you don't have somebody greet you at the door and then take you to your table and hand you a menu, and then they go grab you some water, then they come back, then you order. Then that person doesn't go, okay, well, that's great, you want the chicken sandwich, and then they go out the back and then they make it for you and they cook it, and then once they're done, they come out and they serve it to you, and then from there, once you're finished, then they clear up your table, and then they go up the back and wash the dishes, and then come out and then clean your table. Like, you don't have that one person that just does everything. Whereas you kind of feel like that within a service-based type pharmacy, that it is almost required for a pharmacist to know how to do everything. Whereas we kind of took the approach that, hang on, if you've got people who are quite skilled at waitering and they're real people person, like if you were looking for a hot shot waiter, you'd want to have a mix between people who were real people driven, so they're the ones who are going to be hosts, maitre d's, and are really great at kind of explaining and sharing the passion of how much they love the food and how much they love the restaurant and particular dishes. But you also want people who support the waiters, who are going to be really efficient and really organized. So the people who are going to be kind of like S and D, so which dish needs to be sent out to this. So someone running the pass, you probably don't want them to be too extroverted and open and people driven. They want to be tasked, they want to be organized, they want to make sure that, I need you to clear table 6, so there's that kind of front of house kind of like dynamic there. But then at the back, you've also got a whole bunch of chefs who, again, have different strengths. So you don't have, one chef that cooks everything. Like in a top end restaurant, they're going to have like a savory chef and a plating chef and a pastry chef, and so they're all going to be quite specific. Just because they have the same qualification doesn't mean that they need to actually have the same responsibilities and same role. And that's kind of what we did within our pharmacy. Just because you're a pharmacist and you've been qualified to be a pharmacist doesn't necessarily mean that you should have the same responsibilities as another pharmacist, even within the same pharmacy. So when we found out that we had quite a number of conscientious and even high I pharmacists, then we positioned them to be what we call the service team. So these are the ones who essentially would spend most, if not all, their time on the floor and just serving people. They're the ones who are going to be talking to their patients, seeing how they went for the weekend, what have they been up to since last time. They probably remember all their names and their families and their dogs and their kids, and they're going to be creating those relationships. And through that building of trust, when they talk about and they can uncover and discover what it is that customer might need or benefit from, then the pharmacist can offer the most appropriate health solutions, whether it be maybe a weight management program or a meds check or packing or whatnot. This engagement is going to be much more natural for somebody who is going to be a high I or a high C. At the same time, yes, there's a whole bunch of operations that need to be done. So we created an operations team as well. So these were the people who were Ds and also S's. And they're the ones who really make sure that the stock is all done, everything's priced properly, all the stock is reconciling, that our invoices are reconciled, that the claims are done, they're probably dispensing, and they're doing all these operational tasks. So we essentially had an ops team and a service team. And if you went and asked somebody who was on the service team and go, hey, how was your day today? It was the end of the day, and they'll be like, oh, it was great. I met this person, and they were about to go overseas, and they were going to Bali for the first time, and they're a little bit concerned. They were excited, but also a little bit concerned about some of the things in terms of their health risks there. And I had a great conversation with them in terms of the different things that they could take to prevent, but also if they did experience some symptoms, then these are the things that they could be taking with them to ensure that they were ready and they didn't have to rely on, you know, some God knows what type of pharmacy or what type of standards that that medicine did meet. Within maybe the language barrier might be a bit of a troublesome thing as well. Also a vaccination, and just had this great conversation with them. Then they ended up getting all these things, and they were feeling so much more relieved and so much more excited to go on this trip that they've been looking forward to for ages, without really having this big fear that they're going to be knocked out for the entire trip with Bali belly or some other sort of illness, and that they've got themselves covered. And that was a really great day. So someone who was on the service squad, or on the service team, they would definitely be giving you a story of a relationship or a conversation that they had with the customer. If in the same pharmacy, if you ask somebody on the operations team, how was your day? They're like, oh, it was fantastic. I checked out all our long draws. I checked for nearly out of date stuff. I organized that. I took out anything that was expired. I've marked everything that was nearly out of date. I wasn't interrupted. It was fantastic. I went through the entire drawer. I've managed to sell some of the other stock that was nearly out of date, and I've traded it with another pharmacy already, and we're actually getting some stock in that we were going to be a bit short of as well. Super productive day. So in that example, even though these could be two of the same type of pharmacists, they're both qualified as pharmacists working in the same pharmacy, how they perceive they had a great day and what type of story they wanted to tell you about what was a good day for them or a great day for them is very, very different. And that is quite strongly aligned to usually the disc profile that they are going to be exhibiting. So when we switched people into and really restructured our team to be a service-based team and an ops-based team, we then literally split the two up and had an appointed leaders within each team, and then they had different priorities depending on what it is they wanted to achieve as either a service team or as a operations team. Now, I know what you're thinking. The initial reaction when it came to presenting this to the team in regards to this idea was, well, isn't that going to just separate them? Like, how is that going to encourage team play? How is this going to encourage teamwork? Doesn't this just pull them apart even more? Well, actually, no. What it does is it creates such a difference where you've got people who are within their specialty range and their what we call their genius zone in their specific teams. They cannot operate without the other, and they need each other more so than ever. If you're going to specialize in just the tasks and operations and make sure that everything that you do really fits in perfectly and runs smoothly for the pharmacy, that's all good and well. But it doesn't help if you can't serve any people and you can't give them any opportunity to provide the level of service and create value within the community that way. And at the same time, you can't have a service team where all they do is just talk to people all day and engage customers and have great times and high five each other and that sort of thing. But then there's nothing organized. They don't have the right stock. Everything's in the shambles. The store doesn't look good. So it is really important that they do kind of work together to ensure that they get the optimal outcome. And I guess the best example would be any type of team sporting field. Like, you can't have a complete soccer team with all Ronaldos and strikers. You need some defenders as well. It doesn't say that one is more important than the other. one might appear to have more of the glory, but sometimes that usually suits the personality where they want to be kind of like a bit more attacking and forward in that regard. But then you've also got guys who are defensive. They want to hold the line. They want to stop anybody from coming through. And it's absolutely important for those guys to be there as well. And it's not to say that, you know, if the opportunity presented itself and one of the defenders went, oh, I'm not going to kick a goal, it's open, but it's not my role. You know, that's a cultural thing. They don't want to kind of play at each other's side. You know, ultimately they are still within the same team. They're playing within the same field with a common goal. So if there was the opportunity, you know, somebody was attacking against you, and even though you're a striker, you would definitely do your best to at least try to defend, but you just wouldn't have that as your primary role. So that's kind of how it works. Everyone's kind of got their default positions, but obviously as a team, how do you make that all work together to ensure that you create an ultimate outcome where as a complete team, you can work together to really make a bit of a difference. So that's our take on how we use DISC specifically within our team. So next, what I'm going to talk about in the next video is essentially what are the specific roles and that can suit different personality types, and what does their day look like. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned for the next video.